welcome. I hope we have a great meeting, and if we'd all stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you remain standing for a moment of silence. You may be seated. I'd like to tell you about a couple of things that's happening in town before our next meeting. Next week, we have the July 4th parade. Wear your red, white, and blue and enjoy a parade full of patriotic floats and members of the community. And it's always one of the biggest parades anywhere around. And everybody will be there, and we'll all be looking forward to seeing you. And I hope you show up and bring you a water, because you'll probably need to stay hydrated. But and if you like candy, there'll be plenty of candy out there too. So, and get it fast before it melts, because it'll hit the ground and melt. July 20. Well, I guess I'll go ahead and read this. July 21st is after our next meeting. It says Supersize Indian Trail, Chestnut Park. 6 to 9 p.m. Join us as we surprise some of your favorite surprise some of your favorite games. The event will feature life-size games like Battleship, football, and Pac-Man. Is Hayden here? Is it? Well, that's okay. I just wondered what that was. I know what the games are, but I don't know how we're going to play them. But anyway. Those are some of the things, and hopefully we'll see everybody out there. All right, that brings us to agenda additions and deletions. Does anybody have any? If not, can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve the agenda.
All in favor? Unanimous. Very good. Got a presentation tonight. I'm very honored, or we're very honored, to have Dr. Kim Facine, Principal of the Year, 2023 to 24. And Dr. Facine, I'm going to read a certificate of recognition. If you'd like just to step up to the microphone, let me read this, and I'm going to come join you here in a minute. We all will. We're going to come down because we want to get our picture made with you. So anyway, here we go. Certificate of recognition. Whereas Dr. Kim Facine has served as principal of Porter Ridge High School since 2018, and whereas Dr. Facine began her education career as a science teacher in a neighboring county, and prior to that worked in a research laboratory studying genetics. And whereas Dr. Facine has previously been recognized as Union County Assistant Principal of the Year during the 2012 and 2013 school year. And she is also recognized during the 2013-14 school year by the North Carolina Association of Student Councils as Richard Counselor Administrator of the Year. And whereas Dr. Facine believes that the role of education is to empower students to discover their passions and reach their goals wherever there is a college or a career. And whereas because her enthusiasm for challenging students to be their best, Dr. Facine was recognized as Union County's Principal of the Year 2023-24. Whereas her dedicated service to the youth of the community deserves special recognition. And now, therefore, I, David Cone, Mayor of the town of Indian Trail, on behalf of the town council and residents of Indian Trail, deem it an honor and pleasure to extend our sincere thanks to Dr. Facine's dedicated service to the children of our community. Dr. King.
Thank you.
Dr. King, if you would talk to us a minute. You were telling me something and we'll come down and have our picture made. Tell us me a little bit about what you were talking about earlier.
Sure. As you know, everybody knows, teachers right now, it's very hard to find teachers and keep teachers. And so we are very excited at Porter Ridge High School that we were selected as the next site in Union County Public Schools to be a Teach UCPS site, which means that our students who are interested in going into teaching as a career can go through high school, and they can, depending on which pathway they follow, they can get their bachelor's degree for hardly any cost at all, as long as they come back and teach in Union County for the next 3 or 4 years. And so we're very excited about that, and we think that's a continuation of what our students are already doing through their tutoring at middle and elementary schools, and our students who have been mentors to English language learners at the elementary schools this year too. So we're very excited about that.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you for what you do. And my wife is a teacher, and I know you have to have a passion for it. And, it's people like yourself that make this world a better place, and you make our children better people. And we're so thankful to you because without you, we're not as well off. So I can't tell you how much that we appreciate you and your service. And it very much is an honor to have you here today. Does anybody else like to say anything, or did I say anything? I summed it up. Well, let's go get our picture
All right,
made
thank you.
with Dr. Facini. Okay, that brings us to public comments. That's quite all right. We have no public comments tonight. Okay. So, do we have any council feedback for nothing to say? Or no? Okay, well, we'll move on. Captain Hunky, we already up to law enforcement.
We're ready, y'all moving pretty fast. And I do want to apologize, I don't have my report for this month because our analyst is on vacation and didn't get me her data before she left, but I will next meeting have that. I do want to mention that last council meeting, I mentioned, hey, summer's here, kids are out, make sure our cars are locked up and secured. Just in this past week, we had over 20 car break-ins in Fieldstone Farms and Crooked Creek with guns, laptops, change, everything stolen out of it. So again, if you have an opportunity to talk to the public, please tell them, lock your cars. That's all I got. You got any questions for me?
No, sir. Thank you, Captain Hunky.
See you on the floor.
That brings us to the consent agenda. Can I get a motion for the consent agenda?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
All in favor? Unanimous. All right, brings us to public hearing. Brandy?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Our first and only public hearing for tonight is 112 Woodland Road. This is a conventional rezoning, so we don't get to add a bunch of conditions to it. No site plan, just a straight rezoning for you to consider. So we're looking at one parcel. It's about a half of an acre on Woodland Road. It's just off of Old Monroe Road, going from SF1 to GBD. It's a residential structure present that was converted to a daycare, and it was ran out of this location for many, many years. You may remember 2 years ago a magnet school came to request a conditional rezoning on that, and unfortunately what happened, it was the time frame. By the time she worked through NCDOT approvals, inflation on materials went through the roof, and it was cost prohibited. So we're back to to the SF1, and we actually started this as a code enforcement case. A construction office, just the office portion was running out of that, and we were made aware of that. So the applicant is Mr. Stephen Bennett. And this is the existing structure that we're considering on the property. This is the aerial map. So you can see the Clover Senior Living. It's just off of Old Monroe Road and just down from the intersection of Indian Trail Road and Old Monroe. And here is that beige hatched CZ that you see. And then you've got the beige surrounding it, but then you've also got quite a bit of GBD to play off of as well. Future land use calls this area out to be mixed use. And then a little bit of the details. So the neighboring property to the north was recently rezoned and is vacant land. It was rezoned to GBD. The property to the south is SF1. To the east is SF1. And then you have the Clover Senior Living apartments as well. I just want to go back briefly to this map real quick. This parcel right here, where the structure is located, it's our understanding that's going to be a total take by NCDOT. And I think that's important for this consideration, being that this property that we're considering is going to essentially, its side yard will be Old Monroe Road. So the comprehensive plan again sets it out to be mixed use, and then we are considering the widening of Old Monroe Road into a super street. We have seen over the past several months similar requests that SF1 close to Old Monroe going to GBD, and we feel like that we'll continue to see that trend as well. So the consistency statement, the proposed rezoning is reasonable and in the public interest because it promotes the goals of the Indian Trail Comprehensive Plan in the areas of economic development and land use housing. Economic development goal number 1, by creating a more balanced tax base and promoting a diverse local economy. Land use and housing goal number 1 and 2 as well. And then after public comment, the applicant is present if there are any questions for them, but you have the action before you. Thank you very much.
Okay. There is nobody signed up for the public hearing. Can I get a motion to open public hearing?
Motion to open public hearing.
All in favor? Unanimous? Can I get a motion to close public hearing?
Motion to close public hearing.
All in favor? Unanimous. Applicant, does anybody need to, and have any questions for the applicant? Mr. Gay? Yes, sir. Come on up.
Good evening.
Yeah, I understand that, well, of course, that property right there in front of it has been a daycare since I was in high school, so that tells you how long it's actually been used for business. I'm just curious to know what are you going to improve the property, fix it up cosmetically?
That is part of the reason we're here, and I caution you, I'm the applicant, I'm the attorney representing the landowner, okay?
Right.
And the goal is to turn this into a contractor office with outdoor storage, but also bring it into compliance with current code and spruce it up, and at the same time, that particular use is only allowed in GBD. And so it's kind of a multi-pronged reason we're here. One, to get it right with you guys, and also to look forward to the future when Old Monroe is essentially right next door.
Right.
So, to answer your question, yes.
Cosmetically, yeah,
Yes,
you're
sir.
going to bring it up to,
That's correct, and any outdoor storage, and I think this has been kind of an ongoing discussion with Ms. Dees as well as the town, there are certain minimum requirements that you guys have with your building codes, and yes, that would be definitely a big part of it.
okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, very good. Can I get a motion then?
I'll make a motion. I'll make the motion to approve the zoning map amendment request ZM 2023-0075, 112 Woodland Road, ordinance number 387 as presented.
All in favor? Unanimous.
And then I'll make the motion to adopt the consistency findings as read into the record by staff for ZM 2023-0075.
All in favor? Unanimous. Very good. Thank you, Brandy. Thank you. This brings us to old business, ARPA update. Mr. McLam.
Good evening. Just want to run through a few items and then get to, one, get approval from y'all on something, and two, just get head nods on that we can go through a process. So the first thing, just run through some updates. At the last council meeting, y'all approved a stormwater contract to use ARPA funds. That was about $431,000. That leaves us about $2.1 million that we need to allocate, and we're working towards allocating that over the next year and a half, give or take. As we roll into FY24 budget year, one of the approvals that y'all did at last council meeting as well is to use that about $2.1 million that's available out of surplus dollars after the sheriff's office is paid next year for a community center, so we'll go ahead and start working in that direction, while also in FY25 using about 1.8 of those surplus dollars that then we will use for transportation road improvements of some kind in the town. So now let's talk about surplus dollars, not as much ARPA dollars. So as we look, just giving you an update, I know we had talked a couple of council meetings ago about the water lines out in the Emerald Wood neighborhood. Just to let y'all know, county has approved the funding for that project. It is now moving forward. They are planning to have the engineering estimate back to the county commissioners for approval in late July. So that puts us back on the project timeline that we need to be on. So it's actively moving forward. I had a question from Hayden just the other day, so I'll give y'all the same update I gave him. The two buses that we ordered, the minibus, one for Park and Rec and the other one that was for Cameron's House of Hope, we hope are supposed to be in August. That is our time frame right now for those. They have made it to the manufacturer now, so we have the chassis. Now they're putting the bodies on those vehicles, so they are actively moving forward as well. One item, tonight you had an updated ARPA memo on your desk when you got here. What the change is and one of the items we need to get your approval on is, as we were going through at the end of everything this fiscal year, we saw a couple of reconciliations that we needed to do for projects that had already been approved. The funding had already been approved for, but we've spent money on some projects and they were able to be done for a little bit less than what we originally thought. But we have a couple of projects that need a little bit more money to be able to finish those out. We're not adding any new money, we're just reallocating where some of those dollars are at. So we just need y'all to bless that and make a motion for that. So in just a minute, we'll get to that. And the other thing is we would like to open up a call for projects for surplus dollars for FY24. If you remember, that'll be the interest dollars that we've earned off of ARPA funds through the life that we've had them. We're estimating it'll be about $320,000 that will be available in FY24 for surplus dollars. We'd like to open that up August 1st through August 31st. That'll give a month for anyone to submit for those projects. And then we would then bring back recommendations to y'all sometime September, early October. So two things tonight needing kind of head nods and action on. One, action to move some of those dollars around, reallocate those FY23 dollars to the tune of about $50,000. So that's item number one.
Okay, does someone want to make a motion for the ARPA update for the $50,000? And you can kind of wing it if you want to, or just say it's $50,000 to be reallocated. Well, go ahead.
I make a motion that approximately $50,000 be reallocated from completed projects to projects that have a shortfall of varied amounts.
All in favor? Unanimous. Very good.
Thank y'all. And the second item is, really, I think I just need head nods. I'm looking at Melanie while I'm saying this to open up a call for projects. Okay. So are y'all good with that time frame? Looking at about a month for that time frame?
Sure.
I'd like to, if possible, if something comes up, to be able to present it in July.
If we get a project, a request for a project?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Okay.
All right. I'm just letting you know.
Yep.
Thanks.
Just head nod. See a
Any
head
other
nod?
comments?
Head nod. Head.
I think whatever amount of time you need.
Okay.
So,
All right.
All right,
I'm good. Thank y'all.
thank you. Okay, Mr. Huntsinger, update on Indian Trail Complete Street and Chestnut Parkway.
No.
I'm sorry, what'd I say? Update. Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry, I'm one ahead of you. I'm sorry. Mr. McLaurin. Mr. McLaurin, Highway 74 beautification, I skipped that one, I apologize.
Certainly not a problem, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Sidney Sandy is in our audience tonight. And one of his passions, and I think passions of many of us in this town, is Highway 74 beautification. And we've had several conversations about that. A few years ago, we talked about an entrance sign. Within the last year, we've talked about street lights, and we've talked about mowing. At your desk are some photos that Mr. Sandy has been kind enough to travel about and take photos of some examples for you just to consider. So what we wanted to do was do basically three things. In just a minute, I'm going to ask Adam to give us an update and a background on where we are with street lights and what our recommendation is as it relates to street lights. Talk about a little bit about the history of, a few years ago, we talked about an entrance sign, and then talk about mowing. We know, I think each of you know that DOT will not mow that median with the standard which we would like. And so we want to talk about what type of options would you like us to explore. So what I'd like to do is let Adam come up here and talk about that a little bit, and then if Mr. Sandy would like to make a few brief comments, that would be at your discretion.
Sure.
Me again. I'll break it down kind of in the three things that Mike just talked about. So streetlights, back up a little bit, early 22, we talked about streetlights and if we wanted to go through that process. At that time, council said, yeah, let's see at least what DOT would say. So we went back and looked at streetlights. Late 22, we brought back an option that ended up being a little bit higher than we had the stomach for to take on. So then again in late 22, it was decided that we wouldn't go after funding because we weren't going to move forward through CRTPO for a potential project. And then early 23, council then again decided to maybe look at some key intersections for lighting or to get another number to see where we would be at for the full roadway length. At this time, we are waiting for DOT to give us the lighting determination that they have to. Once we get that, then Duke Energy can then look at designing those key intersections. So that's where we're at with that side of the project right now. If we want to talk about signs, a little bit of background history. About 10 years ago, the town did look at doing very large entrance signs at two different locations on 74. There was money set aside for those, but by the time we decided to actually move forward with them, the funds that we had available weren't enough to actually even build one of them, much less two of them. So those funds were then rolled back into the general fund after 4 or 5 years of sitting. I look at Jim to 4 or 5 years of sitting there as an open requisition. We had to then make the decision to let those roll back into general fund. If we want to talk about mowing, we have asked multiple times for DOT to mow more on 74. It's in their normal mowing cycle, which is anywhere from 4 to 6 times a year, depending on the year. What we do in several locations around town now is we supplement their mowing. They don't pay us to mow anywhere in town, but if you've noticed, some of the areas that we have some pretty heavy sidewalk use, Unionville, Indian Trail Road, Rogers Road, Wesley Chapel, several years ago, y'all approved the purchase of a tractor, so we do have the ability to mow some, but not the level that 74 would need. We also use that to mow in our locations. A couple of years ago, we asked DOT, maybe 2 years ago, we asked DOT to give us a cost for what they would pay us to mow 74, and it was less than $5,000. I couldn't find the paperwork today for exactly what it was, but it's not even enough to cover the insurance for what it would be to put somebody up on 74. So that's kind of where we're at with those three projects. What we'd be looking for from council is where they want to head with each one. I think we have a track that we're going down right now for lighting. It's where do we want to go with signage or mowing? So that's kind of where we're at right now. I can step away and let Mr. Sandy talk for a second if y'all want to, and then come back up, or we can talk and then do that later.
I have a question.
Let Mr. Sandy, if
Okay.
you would, come up and speak, and then
Yep.
if you,
Okay.
then come back up if you would. Sydney?
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight. My passion is the mowing on 74. The lighting is great. You don't want to put lights on those weeds that are waist high out there. So you leave the expressway out here where it's nicely manicured, and you drive all the way down to Breckenridge, and all you're looking is the weeds growing in the median. And you get down to Monroe, and they manicure it, and they've got crepe myrtles and everything planted in there. And you got pictures of these, some of these small towns that have a whole lot less budget than we have. Locust, and you're looking at Locust right here. I mean, even Red Cross. And I know you've been through Red Cross, and you seem to welcome the Red Cross sign. And that's what I'm looking at, is to make Indian Trail a little bit more visible, because people ask me as I travel across the state where I'm from. I say Indian Trail, and they say, "Where's that?" And I say between Monroe and Charlotte, and they just sort of hold their head down and walk away. I mean, they don't even know where it's at, and probably never will. But still, I'm proud of this town, and I'd like for us to take over the maintenance of that, and then hopefully some of these welcome signs on some of the other roads, Waxhaw Indian Trail, Unionville Indian Trail Road, some of these other roads in addition to 74. So that's basically all I have.
Sydney, thank you and thank you for coming up and speaking, and, you know, you're a lifelong resident, aren't you, of Indian Trail? You've been here about all your life.
I've been here since 68.
Okay, that's a long time, and you love this town, and
That's right.
I appreciate that. I think council appreciates your love for the town, and wanting other people to know that we have a beautiful town. We do, but you know, people only see what they go down Independence Boulevard or even Monroe Road, and I understand. So, thank you for your presentation, and thank you for
And
concern.
as Adam mentioned, DOT, yes, they're supposed to cut it 5, 6, 7 times a year, but I work with DOT, and when it get to be a budget crunch, what do they cut back on? Mowing. Because that's not a pothole. That's something they get by with and not have to, and cut back on, and usually don't get any flack. But anyway, thanks for
Sir,
your time.
appreciate
Thank you.
Oh, you got a question from Mr.
No,
Sydney?
for Adam.
For Adam, okay.
With budget cuts in the past, and I think this is the reason the state's done it, is they went through on the interstates and they were putting beds of flowers. I've seen sunflowers, all that, which is a lot of beautification, and it cut down on the amount of property that they had to mow as many times. So is that cost effective, or I can't imagine the state doing it if it wasn't. So could we incorporate that in with our mowing?
Anything's possible. I would say the way that they run their wildflower program is it's a grant that you have to apply through the state, and then they will come out to certain areas and plant those flowers. But a lot of times what you have to do is you then have to say that you will maintain it in perpetuity once it's done.
It looks like we're stuck maintaining it.
No.
So if we could also get a grant, I mean, the flowers, sunflowers and all that
Yep.
I mean, they're very attractive.
They have different requirements based on different they call them clear distances based on how fast traffic is traveling.
Mr. Amberger?
Yes, sir. Adam, ARPA funds, would that be permissible to look for mowers?
ARPA funds would not.
Would not. Okay.
Yep.
Go ahead, Todd.
You finished? Yes, sir. Okay. Where were the two locations for the signs?
Chestnut Parkway, as soon as you come down the hill from being like up near the hospital coming down, right before you get to Chestnut Parkway was location number 1. And then, so that would be eastbound. And westbound, it was near the Honda dealership, so right in that intersection. So that's where our town limits are at.
But there was no signs for Old Monroe Road.
The town never talked about signs on Old Monroe Road, and at this point, we've kind of held off until Old Monroe Road construction is done to pick locations for signs along Old Monroe Road.
Wonder if it'd be better to wait and we order them all at one time if we're gonna do Old Monroe Road. I mean,
That's council's direction. If y'all want to wait right now, I mean, that's fine. But that's kind of where we're at. We are moving forward on signage on all of the, let's
All the
call them
other
the
signs.
secondary roads.
I got another question. And, on the street lights, I just soon wait on the price, and, I know we had, discussed going to DOT and working out some arrangement of us mowing. Did we ever get back on that? Did we ever get a proposal? I think we were proposing something to DOT. Did we ever get an answer on that?
Yep, that was the less than $5,000 that they gave us back for, if we wanted to mow fully cycle, everything would be the town's priority. It was about $5,000 is
Did we
what they
accept
would
that?
do. What? We did not accept that.
Are we going to accept it? Is that the
Well,
proposal?
if we decide to do it, we would accept it. Would we
Okay.
not, cut the cost?
Do we have an alternate proposal then?
When you say alternate proposal, you mean for us to do it? So that's part of what we're asking you tonight, is do you want us to go out and look at what a contractor would cost for us to do that work? Or if you want to look at us having to hire more individuals and order and buy equipment for us to do it? So that would be kind of option one. Option two and option three would be to stay with what we do today. So that would be what we could do for mowing. That would be kind of three options to look at.
So we don't mow any of the state right now?
We do not mow any of Highway 74 right-of-way
74.
today.
I guess I'd be interested in hearing the cost.
Okay.
Yes, sir. That's where I'm at. And, yeah, and as far as the street lights, I just soon wait on getting our costs back on that. That's my questions. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Sure, hold on one second. Mr. Gay?
Just a side note, right at the Honda dealership, on past, I think, Kia, that turns, it stops being Indian Trail, turns into Union County, and then starts on down the road near Breckenridge as Monroe.
Yes, sir.
So we'd have to, I don't know how we'd handle that, because we could have a big mop of grass that tall right there between that section there. So I don't know if the county let us go ahead and do that, or the state, I should say.
Yep.
But we do have that space there.
Mr. Amberger?
Adam, what he just said, you know, I don't think the county would have a problem with us mowing that plot, if you will. So how far is it mileage-wise from Stallings to
4 miles.
4 miles? Okay.
4 miles,
And-
but now remember, that means there's a mile of shoulder, 2 miles of shoulder eastbound and 2 miles, double that. So there's a total of 12 shoulder miles to be mowed.
And on the signs, I don't think that we should wait on that, Todd, due to the fact that Old Monroe Road, we've been working on that. How long have they been working on that, 10 years? I mean, I think
I
that
don't see
we,
Todd in here, so.
I would be in favor of looking at those signs now to, because we need to, like we were trying to beautify 74, I think that would be a start. And then once they finally complete Monroe Road, I think that then we could look at it. And we could always mimic what we bought already. What do you think?
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
Crystal, do you have a question?
No, I'm in agreement. I think we definitely should get some quotes back. I think contracting it out is probably going to be the more efficient and costly. But, and then, yeah, I'm for signs. I agree with what he said. I want them to know they're in Indian Trail. So I'm proud of where I live, and I want people to know where it is.
Okay, so I'm going to go through these in order really quick and
I have a
add.
question for you.
Oh,
That's
sure,
okay.
sorry.
First of all, I want to correct Mr. Amberger, and I'm trying to be funny. They haven't been working, it's what they haven't been doing for 10 years. It's not what they've been doing, it's what they hadn't been doing for 10 years. So you mentioned that it was $5,000 just for the insurance. Is there?
I'm just throwing that number out. I mean,
well,
it's
you don't have to be
expensive.
exact, But
Yeah.
no, this is my question. Is there companies that do that would already have their own insurance? Or have we looked into that? Because then that would be, that might pay for 1 or 2 mowings, so that we don't have to pay that insurance. Does that make
Yes, there are multiple landscape companies that already mow rights-of-ways in other
We wouldn't have to pay the
jurisdictions.
5,000 into it.
Right, yeah, and it's not, I'm just saying, like, to put an individual on Highway 74 from an HR side, Carrie back there would not like that very well. So it is gonna be costly just from that standpoint. You know, you don't just put signs out there and start mowing. You have to run flaggers, you have to do a lot of different stuff.
Yeah, well, we need to do something, and,
Yep.
and I was on a council 10, 11 years ago that had agreed to beautify that area, and it never got done. So
Yep.
it needs to get done, and we have to let Mr. Sandy, he's got to rest a little bit, because he's been waiting a long time for this to happen. And I agree with you, you know, we need to beautify that town, beautify that up. And I do have some other things to say, but I think you do, so why don't
Okay, so I just wanted to kind of get head nods motion, or from everybody on mowing. So what we will do is we will bring back a couple of different options, and one of those will be to stick with the status quo with DOT. But we will bring back a couple of options on what it would be for mowing over the next month or two. Good? Head nods? Good with that? All right. Lighting. So right now, we're going to stick with the process we're in. We're going to continue to get those numbers back from DOT and then Duke Energy. The one thing I do want to ask is if a call for projects comes back open with CRTPO, do we want to submit that project for them to fund potentially up to 80% of that project and us with the other portion? Okay, all right.
let me add something to that. If we're going to go to, then we are committing to the lights.
If we
And
go to
I just
the,
want to make
yes.
that, yeah, because we can't change our mind once we go to CRTPO and go, look, you know, we changed our mind. 'cause
Right.
then-
And
then
we'll
we won't
come-
get nothing for a long time, so.
We'll come back before we do that submittal, but just
Right.
so we don't start down a process and then decide not to finish through. Like, let's just go ahead, we're gonna try it if it comes up. The last thing would be the signage. So I got at least 3, maybe 4 that said we do want to at least entertain what the signs may look like and what a cost may be for each of those. Correct? All right. Mr. Cohen, or Mayor Cohen? Did you have anything else for me?
I got one more question.
ahead.
You know, speaking of signs, where are we at on Crooked Creek?
So the Crooked Creek sign will be installed when we install the other Welcome to Indian Trail signs. The same vendor is going to do all of those.
Okay.
Right, you're talking about the one along Unionville Indian Trail Road? Yes, sir. So they'll take down the wayfinding signs that are up today that may or may not point you in the right direction anymore. They're going to install all of the ones that are welcome to Indian Trail on all the secondary streets, and they will install the one for Crooked Creek Park, which will be a dual-sided sign now, so from both directions will tell you to turn and go down to Crooked Creek. And then also update some of the signs in downtown where we will leave a few wayfinding signs for future.
If there's no other, go ahead.
Just like to thank Mr. Sadney for your service on the planning board. Thank you. Appreciate you coming in.
Adam,
Yes, sir.
maybe, I know we all had a chance to look at pictures, and do you want to just give us some prices maybe on different, I see that there's some expensive looking signs, but this is my opinion, one of the least expensive looking ones there, I like, Mr. Sandy, I like that Red Cross one. I think it would be sufficient, and I believe we could do that for, it gets the point across. I thought it looked clean, but that's just my opinion. Did anybody else like that particular one, or?
I personally think that we need to look classy, if you will. You know, make it inviting. I mean, it's simple, the Red Cross one was. I like, for instance, Locust. I want it looking good
How
when
about,
people come in
You can
town.
give us a
how about
price.
we do this? How about if y'all will look at those that Mr. Sandy gave you and email Trina, if that's okay, or Trina and Mike, and give them 2 or 3 that you like of those, and then we'll kind of get some prices based off of ones that are generally like
All
that.
right.
And then
Thank
that
you.
way,
We you like them to match the other signs we have around town, kind of?
We'll match them a little bit, yes, so that everything looks uniform. We'll take a little bit of creativity. I'll get Miss Ball involved over there.
Mr. Mayor, before we move off this, just as a point of clarification for Highway 74 mowing, as Adam said, we're going to bring you some options, but we don't have the staff internally to try to
Right.
mow that. So just, we're going to talk to some private contractors, and you'll get some menu of what you feel like you want to handle.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. Now, brings Mr. Hunsinger. Update on IT, Indian Trail Complete Street and Chestnut Parkway, Phase 3.
Mayor, Council, this won't be too long, but wanted to just show images just in case people in the audience doesn't know about the projects. So we're going to start with Chestnut Parkway Phase 3. Again, this project is fully funded by the town. It's 3 funding sources: capital reserve, street bonds, and general fund. The budget right now is 6.5, a little over 6.5. Right-of-way is $750, which is completed. And construction is estimated at $5.8 million right now. So this is a picture of the entire project with the NCDOT connector project as well. Our portion is on the left side of the screen from the roundabout to Omer Road. So this would be our portion, which is basically just a straight 4-lane boulevard, just like you see out there in the existing Chestnut Parkway. The only difference is we are widening the median to a DOT standard 16-foot wide median because, as you remember, our verbal conversations with DOT is we took over Indian Trail Road. They would like to take over this parkway when it's all said and done and maintain it. All the way, probably not all the way to 74, but all the way to at least to Matthews Indian Trail Road, which is right out here, which they're building. So again, right-of-way is done. Unfortunately, a developer did a updated wetland study in the area, and so unfortunately, we had to update our permit. So our permit was pretty much done, and then NCDOT came back to us and said, well, we have an updated wetland study now, so you have to update y'all's. And so we had to go back, we had to get their wetland study report, review it, issue a new permit, and then, of course, that put us into the now what is I describe as the tricolor bat issue. We have a new endangered species in North Carolina, and it will go in effect September 1st. And it's called the tricolor bat. And I know nothing about tricolor bats, so don't ask me questions about it. But it will go in effect September 1st. So what happens is any project that doesn't start the construction at that time, they will only be able to clear land, clear trees, between October and March of the calendar year. And that's across the board right now. So they're not, the state is not doing a detailed study on that. They're basically, from what I understand is, they're doing a blanket permit for the whole, all of North Carolina. So all projects will have to abide by that if you want a permit. That being said, we finally got the permit finished and completed, and so I'm in no hurry to really let the project until probably around August, and that way, by the time we advertise, get it let, get the contractor on board, it'll be a little after October so we can start clearing. So that's kind of our time frame right now on that project. We still plan on tying in Omer Road temporarily and all that, and the Chestnut Connector, like go back here. Now, DOT is building that roundabout on Gribble Road, which is in the middle of that screen. They are drafting their contract to stipulate that phase 1 of that project is to start that roundabout. So hopefully the roundabout will be online at the same time our project is done. They are letting their project at the end of this year, so they're not too far behind from us. Hoping to basically have a roadway that you can use between Omer Road and Gribble Road at that time until the overpass gets built by DOT, and I have no idea how long that's going to take. They haven't provided a schedule, how long they think the construction will last on that. So anyway, Any questions about that project? All right. The other project, Indian Trail Complete Street, again, it's a 80-20 split with us and the feds. The budget is right now, it's 13.1. Now that includes your Duke Energy Underground, which is a $5 million price tag. So the actual construction of the roadway itself is only 6.5, but unfortunately $5 million for the Duke Energy. Design is at 826, right-of-way is at 651. I will tell you, that's probably not going to stay 651, but unfortunately, you know, right-of-ways are estimates, and once we, right-of-way authorization has been approved by DOT, and I had a meeting with the consultant today, and he's going to start doing his due diligence and hopefully start really going out there talking to business owners, hopefully by the middle of July, end of July. And so once we start getting some solid figures from the appraisals and stuff, we'll probably come back to y'all and revisit that number and see if it changes. But I have a feeling it's going to change, and it's going to be more. So anyway, and then construction-wise, the 11 million is a pretty solid number right now. I don't foresee that being getting any bigger. This is the public meeting map we had out there when we did our own public meeting for this project. Again, for anybody that doesn't know, the project limits is from Gribble to Liberty Lane downtown. And then, of course, as you can see on the right side of the screen, there's significant improvements along Unionville and Matthews and East Road. You see a roundabout in the center of the project. That is for the town center project. If anybody wants to know about town center, they can see me after the meeting. But basically, that roundabout is needed based on that full built out of that commercial / mixed use development. And then all other improvements are based on either atrium hospital impacts or stuff that the town staff incorporated into the project. The other improvement you'll see is on the left-hand side of the screen, there is a new traffic light that will be installed at the Gribble intersection, which is Gribble and South Fork. And everybody knows in here it needs to be a light there. So we're going to do it. Any questions about this project? Yes, sir.
Main question I keep getting from all the merchants over there is, when's it going to start?
Yeah, well, again, we got about 50 parcels we got to purchase right away from. And, you know, to me, that's going to take a good, probably 9 months at least to get done. And so the hope is to get started and, you know, bid the project out next year around this time frame.
So no orange barrels this year?
Not this calendar year, no. Any other questions?
Todd, would you, go ahead, Mayor.
Go ahead.
Would you like to talk about the tree removal from?
Yeah, I was going to save that
Chestnut
for
Parkway?
last.
Okay. You break the news to them.
Stole my thunder, Mike. All right, so let's go back to, are we done with Indian Trail? Complete Street? Okay. So let's go back to Chestnut Parkway. As I told you, the state's got their portion, which they're calling the Chestnut Connector, from Matthews Indian Trail Road, which is right out here, over the railroad tracks, to Gribble. All right, I told you about the tricolor bat issue. Well, because of their timing that they're letting stuff, they don't feel like they can make that deadline of letting the project and getting the trees removed at that time. So they're going to hire a contractor just to remove the trees. And that will happen pretty soon, before September 1st. So all these trees are going to be gone. So don't let that be a shock to you when it happens, because that's the reason why. So anyway, I just heard that today. I literally got the email today about that, and so I don't know the exact timing, but that's going to happen pretty soon. So just FYI. Any other questions?
No, thank you, Todd.
All right, thank you all.
Brings us to new business. Mr. McLaurin.
The memo in your package is pretty self-explanatory. Early in the budget process, we got a request by Hayden Kramer to increase the number of part-time from 10 to 15. It doesn't change the budget. The reason we're making that request is the activity that we've had in the Park and Rec Department, from shelter rentals to activities in the park to even this building. This building is being rented out 7 days a week, a lot of times 2 or 3 times a day. And by having that ability to have those part-times, it gives us flexibility on scheduling. We don't pay part-timers benefits or anything like that. In some cases, some part-timers work more frequently than others. Many of you know Brad downstairs. He's a mainstay. But we have others during the summertime that's maybe like a special ed teacher that would be working the day camps, particularly if we have one of our registrants that needs some special needs. So we would ask that the board authorize us to have up to 15 part-times. Sometimes it may be 12, sometimes it may be 11, sometimes it may be 15. Again, there is no change in the approved budget, and Hayden Kramer will answer any question you might have on the need for this.
Any questions? No questions. Can I get a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve the adjustment of the number of part-time positions for Park and Rec from 10 to 15.
All in favor? Unanimous.
Okay, moving on to the manager's report.
Sure. Go ahead.
All right, very quickly. I go out to First Avenue enough, I feel like I'm almost a resident out there. If you've been out there, they're continuing to make progress. We expect paving to occur perhaps next week, depending on the weather and depending on the holiday. If you haven't been out there, you ought to go. You see they've got the ditches in. They're putting concrete along the bottom of those ditches, and we will look forward to the completion of that project. Street resurfacing, just to remind you that our goal for our town streets within the next, well, now 4 years, is to have an average score of 80. When we last measured it, it was 63, and you generously agreed to commit to $16.1 million just in road resurfacing, pothole repair, things of that area. Just to remind you that Red Clay was given a contract for over $3 million at your last meeting. That will be this year's paving contract and will cover 33 streets. If you'd like a list of those streets, I think we may have sent them out to you. If we didn't, just see us after the meeting. We'll take care of it. The Highway 74 Express Bus, or 74X, I think they call it. I want to thank y'all for agreeing to contribute $18,000. I'm convinced that you saved that bus line. The county, as I understand, was not going to continue it if some municipality didn't kick in. And now I'm hearing that Monroe may actually try to come to the table and kick in. As you saw at our last meeting, it has a big following. I went to the county commission meeting a few days later, and half the room, literally half the room, were bus supporters. In fact, when they finished the public comments, half the room got up and left. It was standing room only when I got there. Brandy, Abby, and I met with CATS today to talk about what we can do to help the cause. We can't do everything, but we can assist them and the county with marketing the product. We are expecting CATS to get back with us in the next couple weeks, and we'll have a meeting with Union County CATS, and then Monroe joins in that way, because we think it can be successful. It just needs some more marketing, so we'll keep you informed on that. Downtown Master Plan arrived in our offices on the 23rd of June, and staff is going through that. We gave you a schedule, I think, a month or so ago on where we are to completion. That may be adjusted just a little bit, but Brandy and her folks have given the review of that plan their highest priority. Let's see. Yes, sir.
Sure. You don't need a motion.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, just need to get a motion to excuse Mr. Barber.
Motion to excuse Todd Barber.
We don't have anything else to vote on, so yeah.
All right, you see the Chestnut Park Phase 2 there. Now, let's move forward to July. Just remember, we have one meeting in July and one in August. It's our current schedule. July 11th, you'll hear the July 4th winners tax report. You charge the tax collector to collect taxes. Tax settlement, we got a line item adjustment on the Chestnut Park project. It doesn't change the total, we're just tweaking a line. You got a rezoning. We've got an economic development public hearing, Brandon Oaks annexation, and then a capital project consideration on sidewalks. And just two minor comments I want to make in passing. If you'll look out to the right, you'll know that we're making progress on getting the generator here, and we have bumped that to our property line, so you see the right-of-way stakes for NCDOT. And I also want to give a big shout out to Alicia Gaddy. Alicia has just completed an 8th-month study in municipal administration, which covers the role of city government, the role of county government. She joins me, Adam, Brandy, and maybe a couple of other staff. So congratulations to her. She did that while she was working on ARPA, the budget, and the other finance stuff. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Ms. Cox, we're winding down here, so.
Councilmember Buholic.
Oh, yeah, I get it first. Thank you, everyone, for coming out. I will make this short, sweet, and simple. I hope everyone has a wonderful 4th of July. I hope you all come out to the parade. It's one of my favorite events. And then also, we didn't mention it tonight, and we have another meeting beforehand, but just hope everybody comes out to the National Night Out on August 1st. Congratulations, Alyssa, and we'll give it up to the next person.
Councilmember Gay.
I'd like to thank everybody for coming tonight. I hope you all make an extra effort to come to the parade. Proud to say that the Lions Club sponsors the parade every year, and I think that in conjunction with the town, we're going to have a great parade, and hope to see you all there, and hope you have a great 4th of July. Thank you.
Councilmember Ambergy.
Yeah, and congratulations to Abby for 4 years with the town now. She's a great. Who else? You too? Well, I didn't see it on LinkedIn. Sorry, I missed it. But yeah, so congratulations to both of y'all. God bless you, and happy 4th of July to everyone, and have a great evening.
Mayor Combs.
Okay, yeah, congratulations. I didn't know it either. It doesn't seem like 4 years, but time flies when you're having fun, right? So thank y'all. Y'all are, you're the best, so we're lucky to have you. Dr. Fasine, thank you so much for what you do. And your work speaks for itself. You, Principal of the Year, Assistant Principal of the Year in the past. I can't thank you enough for what all you do, and it's very important. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. I want to remind everybody about the 4th of July parade. We've already talked about that, and Alicia Gaddy is not in here. I don't see Alicia, but congratulations, Alicia. She's a part of the staff that we have that's remarkable. Always out to do their best. One thing I hope I can talk about this. I get calls, being I'm the mayor, I get calls at least every week, sometimes every day, for different things in town. And one of the things I like to do is I like to be very responsive to it, whether or not it's a planning problem or a communications problem with somebody in the town. The town staff is remarkable on what they do. Many of you guys will never even know it, because I pick up the phone and I call somebody on staff, and they handle it. They handle it within, sometimes someone will call me at 4 o'clock, and by 4:30 the problem's taken care of, and I so much appreciate it. I appreciate what y'all do, and all of you. And I know you do it sometimes on Saturdays and Sundays, and expected to be at meetings, and it just speaks volumes for what you do and how much you care about what you do. I had a particular call, and I don't want to be quick because I know that we had a quick meeting. But I believe it was last Friday, I had a lady call me, and she was rather upset. And we've heard a lot about open fiber. A lot of people in here have heard a lot of complaints on open fiber. And let's face it, when somebody goes working on your yard and they run cable through it, you're going to have people that are going to be upset about it, and rightfully so. I'm not saying rightfully so. But we had a lady call, and she was quite upset, and she said that she didn't have any sewer. She had no sewer for her house. She had three children in the house, a single mom, just kind of a desperate situation, and it had been this way since almost Father's Day. And she thought that open fiber had come through there and caused the problem. So I made a call down here and talked to Todd, and Todd got Adrian to meet me at her house, and she got open fiber to come. And she lived on at least 2 acres of land. And if anybody knows anything about plumbing, if you're on 2 acres and there's a sewer problem with a pipe, you could be in huge trouble. She had already paid somebody $700 to run a camera to find out where they thought that the problem might be. So they ran the camera. They weren't right on where the camera might be and where the problem might be, and so they open fiber came out, and sweet lady, she wanted open fiber to sign something that said, "You're not going to charge me for looking for the problem," and the guy assured her that they would not. As a matter of fact, he looked at me as she walked away, and he said, "I hope it's our fault." And I mean, that spoke volumes to me for open fiber. And he said, if she's lucky, it'll be $15,000 to fix this, and or for someone to come out and find this. She had a manhole in her front yard, at least 150, 200 yards away from her house. It was all the way at the street. Took the manhole up. It was 10 feet down is how far that you'd have to dig to go down to fix this. Where that was not where the problem was, but that's where the water was coming to. So they came back Monday, and it was not open fiber's deal. They did. It was not something they did. They fixed the problem, which would have cost thousands and thousands of dollars, and they didn't charge her a dime. And that just speaks volumes for people. It speaks volume for a company that that may have not got the best reputation because of just what they do. But I went out yesterday, and she was very thankful, and she cried and she hugged my neck, and I think I cried a little bit too. So we live in a good town, and we live with good people. And if you hear something, I'm not saying bad about open fiber, just think about what happened in this instance. And they fixed that, hoping it would be their problem. It wasn't their problem, but they fixed it anyway. And it's people helping people. And I'm very thankful for it. And I wanted to tell that story. And I get a little choked up when I talk about it. But anyway, I hope everybody has a great 4th of July. And can I get a motion to close?
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor? Unanimous.